Buckle up and brace yourself for these heart-stopping tales from the NBA. These basketball stars stared death in the face when they miraculously survived a catastrophic car crash that could have been fatal. But that's not all. In another shocking turn of events, an entire NBA team came within inches of losing their lives thanks to an unlikely culprit, a menacing bird. As these gripping stories unfold, you'll be on the edge of your seat, wondering how these players managed to survive against all odds. It's a roller coaster of emotions, a nail-biting journey that will leave you breathless. Jaw-dropping secrets NBA stars have been keeping from their fans. First up, we have the time DeMar DeRozan almost died in an armed robbery case. After agreeing to a 5-year, $139 million contract with the Raptors, DeRozan purchased a $15 million luxurious mansion in Hidden Hills, California. Hidden Hills is one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in LA, housing famous celebrities like The Weeknd, Paul George, Drake, and Kylie Jenner. The compound is surrounded by gates and seemed 100% safe until this happened. November 19, 2020, DeRozan was at home with his daughters, getting tatted downstairs, until suddenly there was an all-out power outage. After hearing screams from his daughter's playground area, DeMar felt something was definitely wrong. In figuring out what was wrong, DeMar found himself face-to-face with the intruder, who ran out of his house. I mean, DeRozan is literally a 6'6", 220-pound giant straight out of Compton. You definitely don't want to mess with that. However, the speed chase didn't last long because the intruder was arrested minutes later. He was also charged with 1 count of felony burglary and a restraining order to keep him forever away from the neighborhood. Reminiscing about the moment months later, DeRozan said, "Everything is good. I grew up in Compton, California. I've seen worse." Sheesh. At this point, I guess DeRozan isn't even scared of death. Stephen Curry was also lucky to come out alive after getting involved in a horrendous car crash accident. Friday, November 23, 2018. Early in the morning, the 4-time NBA champion was on his way to the Golden State Warriors training facility in Oakland, California, for an early shoot-around with the team. On that day, Steph was driving in his black Porsche Panamera when suddenly something frightening happened. A Lexus driver had lost control of his car and rear-ended Steph's car. Unfortunately, the weather on the day was rainy, leading to less friction for vehicles moving on the roads. Fortunately, Steph's car stood safely while waiting for law enforcement officials to arrive at the accident scene. Well, things didn't end there. Another sedan driver also lost his footing and ran into Steph's car from the back for the second time. Damn, Steph's demons were really after his life. Luckily for Steph, he came out of the crash alive, while his Porsche took a brutal beating from the multiple impacts. Who cares about the Porsche? I'm just grateful we still get to see Steph out there balling. Later that day, he arrived at the Warriors training facility and took to Twitter to thank God for saving his life. Don't need any reminders, but all the time God is great and God is great all the time. Appreciate all the texts, Steph tweeted. Up next, we have an accident so bad that it almost ended the lives of an entire NBA team. Tuesday, March 30th, 2021. The Utah Jazz team, except Donovan Mitchell, who is scared of traveling by plane, hopped on a team's plane for a road game matchup against the Memphis Grizzlies. But little did they know that they would witness the scariest moment of their lives. While in the air, there was a sudden explosion in one of the plane's engines, which had the entire team in turmoil. Oblivious to what was going on, some players thought this was the end of the road for them, and they were already saying their final prayers. At least 30 seconds in that flight, everybody came to the point where it was like, man, it might be over for us, Clarkson said. Conley also added, I can't speak for everybody, but I know that guys were trying to text family just in case, it was that kind of situation. Wow, that experience must have been awful. With flames going on for a few minutes, the pilot discovered that one of the engines had been destroyed and needed an emergency landing. And fortunately, the plane landed safely with all its occupants unharmed. After various investigations, they discovered the engine was destroyed when birds flew into one of the plane's engines. However, that didn't stop them from grabbing a road win against the Grizzlies the next night. Up next, we have the time LeBron James was 100% sure he was going to die in a plane crash. Since he got drafted first overall by the Cavaliers in 2003, LeBron James clamored about the poor state of the team's plane. I had always complained about our team plane. It was run down, and I'm not even a guy who was afraid of flights. But I always felt something could happen to this plane. I noticed it, and this was the first year our new regime took over the team. I was like, listen, if you want to start with helping this become a better franchise, we need a new frickin' plane, LeBron said. However, the Cavs owner, Dan Gilbert, never met LeBron's request, as the Cavs were in no position to pull off $1 million purchase. Well, a few months later, LeBron's greatest fear came to life. Dan Gilbert, his wife, LeBron, and some other VIPs were forced to take the plane to the NBA All-Star Weekend when something terrifying happened. So we fly from Cleveland. Then we traveled to Detroit to pick up the ownership because that is where they were situated. So we go to pick up everybody in Detroit, and we're now taking the plane from Detroit to Houston. Every single person on the plane from Detroit feared that they were going to die. I mean, literally. Our owner's wife was pregnant at the time, and she vomited several times. DJ Montage, one of my family members, puked as well. Our flight attendant also sprained her ankle. We looked into the kitchen at one point in the journey and noticed smoke pouring from it, LeBron said. He also added, the lights were flickering on and off. I was like, oh my God, no one wants to listen to me. I believe this is it. Wow, I have never heard LeBron sound scared in my life. That must have been intense. Fortunately, no one got hurt, and the Cavs received a new jet the next year. Up next, we have the time when Kevin Porter Jr. almost ruined his life. November 15th, 2020. The rookie almost lost his chance at NBA stardom after almost getting wrecked in a car accident around 2 a.m. outside Cleveland. According to multiple reports, KPJ's Mercedes was totaled. It was only by sheer grace that Kevin Porter Jr. made it out of the crash alive. Well, it didn't end there though. Kevin Porter Jr. was also arrested and charged with the unlawful possession of a firearm and marijuana possession. Luckily for him, the case was ruled out by the grand jury, who refused to indict the NBA player. Whew! KPJ was lucky to get out of that alive and out of jail. And lastly, we have an NBA player who rocked an ankle monitor in NBA games. In 2017, Contavious Caldwell-Pope was charged with driving under the influence after his car recorded 70 miles per hour in a 25 mile per hour zone, earning the NBA veteran 25 days in jail. Thanks to his attorneys, KCP was allowed under the work release program, which meant he could only play in home games and practices while wearing an ankle monitor. He also couldn't play for the Los Angeles Lakers in road games and had to stay within the state of California. Contavious Caldwell-Pope didn't let that stop him, rocking the ankle monitor casually while featuring in 25 home games for the Los Angeles Lakers.